Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Sunique and today I am looking at the Six of Swords in relation to the Decanic journey, which is something I'm studying over the course of a year, and I'll leave the playlist below, so if you are interested in this then you can look back at my other videos. And it's my little exploration of the cards by using them when they are assigned to certain times of the year. So I'm going through all 36 minor cards and just looking at them with their associated majors. So now we're on the Six of Swords, and that runs from the 31st of January until the 8th, 9th of February. So we've just come to the end of it here. And I've got the crystals associated with these cards alongside here, and they are assigned from the Crystal Magic Tarot. So this is a deck here by Kerry Ward, there we go, and Claire Gregory. And it's the one that I've been using alongside to use the associations they give for these cards. Now, I understand these aren't set in stone. Pardon the pun, set in stone. I do amuse myself. There are other books and information that assign different stones to the cards, but this is the one that I've decided to actually follow along with for this year. So that's why these are the cards. So that one is Aragonite, and that's obviously the Six of Swords. So we have the boat going from choppy water to calmer, and this is my piece of Aragonite. Hopefully it'll focus. There we go. Isn't that amazing? And apparently if left it turns into calcite. It's quite crumbly, I've noticed as well, so if you do get some, be a little bit aware of that. So for the majors, or the magician, we have some Jade. That'll focus, there you go. And then for the star, of course, we have Moldavite. And that's never going to focus on black. Oh, let's try it on white. It's such a tiny piece because, as I said in the last video on the Decan journey, Moldavite is very, very expensive. So I've just got basically a chip of Moldavite. I'll apologise in advance for the light if it's going light and dark, but we have clouds going across the sun outside, so that's probably what's going to happen, but we'll carry on as best we can. So I'm taking a look now at the Rider-Waite Smith card here, where we see a ferryman ferrying these two figures across water, across choppy water, to the far shore, and calmer water. Water representing our emotions. In this card, I've taken this one from the Unfolding Path Tarot, which is by Thoth Tarot. I think they still go by that name, I'm not sure, but I will link below the walkthrough I did of that deck, and also the walkthrough I did of this deck, which is the Tarot of Wanless. Robin Foissey, I think that's pronounced. Possibly. And this is the Sweet Twilight, Tarot of the Sweet Twilight, which is a mass market deck. And there's a reason I've chosen these decks, which I will go into now. Okay, so here there's no ferryman in this depiction. The figure is alone, has chosen to take a long puppy dog and a bag of possessions here. And if water is emotions, then this figure is still almost waist deep in emotion. And also, if swords are our worries and our mental attitudes, then it would seem they're in the boat as well. And that's the same with the Rider-Waite Smith card, isn't it? We haven't quite left it behind, although we're giving it a good shot. In the Tarot of Wanless, we don't see... This is taken from a perspective of us being the figure in the scene. So we are the ones in the boat here. There we are, focusing. And instead of swords, we have feathers to represent the element of air. And we can just see our garment there as if we were looking ahead, and that's in our peripheral vision. And we're going, hopefully, to somewhere better, or a better circumstance. And then in Tarot of the Sweet Twilight is a little bit a different image here. The figure here is blindfolded, looks to be like an angel. And is the ferryman taking us to our ultimate destination? Because here in this card, the figure at the front is a skeleton. Thoughts to ponder. And if I look at the little white book, what does it say for the 6? Why would someone with the ability to fly, so yes, let herself be carried as a prisoner? So you can see, look, tied to those sticks. What is the appeal of giving over control of one's own destiny to someone else? Now, the two cards associated with this, the two major cards associated with this 6 of Swords, one of them is the Magician. And doesn't this look a little bit like it could be a magician? Possibly. Just a thought. You see these things. And also we've got, look, we've got a bird on top of the hat. Now, is that the ibis bird from the Star card? Because the Star card is the other association with the 6 of Swords, the major association. If we go back to the Star, then we're talking about hope. And the Star, if we look at this card from the Unfolding Path Tarot, we have lots of stars there. And we have lots of stars also in the background there of the Tarot of Wanless. So that could be actually referencing the Star card as well, the associated major arcana. So to my mind, all 3 cards here are referencing that major arcana. This one, however, is the only one I see referencing the Magician and possibly our final destination over the River Styx. Although this one is a sandy desert type landscape, there is water there. And we have mountains in this one and mountains in this one. And mountains can actually signify that we've still got, if we have a mountain to climb, then we've still got obstacles ahead. It's not going to be plain sailing, even though we hope that we're going towards something better than we're leaving behind. It's not a given. It's an unknown. It's an absolute unknown. So I'm using the 2023 Witch's Diary by Flavia Kate Peters, Barbara Micklejohn Free this year. And I have done a walkthrough of my diary, of my journals, diaries and things, a little one. So if I remember, I'll put it below, a link to it anyway. But anyway, for the first week of February, there was this here page, which I thought really went well with this 6 of Swords. And I'll read it to you and you may agree. It says, to understand the regenerative cycles of nature, witches pursue opportunities for growth, change, and new beginnings. With a dark journey at its end, the transformation your soul craves has already started to birth, for it was your deep, silent wishes and desires to magically evolve, to live as your authentic self that invited in a process of awakening in order to tear through the veil of illusion. You must prepare to replace illusions of the past with a much more ancient wisdom, and magic seeks you out. Light cutting through the darkness reveals the path of ultimate spiritual transformation and growth that you are to take. The midwife within offers her nurturing, supporting care as you travel through the birth canal of the unknown and towards the promise of new life to embrace your soul's awakening. Is that not just the 6 of Swords? So, how did we get here? How did we get to the Six of Swords? This is the before tarot here. This is my total tarot version, Lo Scarabeo. So the deck came with the magazine. There's a playlist of Total Tarot magazine walkthroughs to date. And here we see the ferryman helping this person on board and this little person here. Now, who is this little person alongside the main figure escaping their situation? Who is that? Well, I had a thought about that. You could see it as a child. In this one, it's a bit ambiguous whether it is a child or not. I'm not too sure. Maybe. Looks like a little boy, possibly. But my thought was, what if this is our inner child that we're protecting here? Our inner child has been hurt so badly, we have to leave this situation. And then I looked at the Marielle Tarot by Waite, and for that deck, Six of Swords, we have the angel Raphael. And when I looked at the book meanings for this, it actually supported my theory about the inner child, because in the book it's talking about the angel Raphael, which is the angel of healing, among other things, leading forward our parts of ourselves, so our animal part of ourselves and our child part of ourselves, all our total part of ourselves. So that, I thought that was really another layer that we could add to this. So I'll talk about the Six of Swords a little more. Actually, before I go on to that and on to its associated majors, I found this card as well in Tarot Avatara, Gabby Angus West. This deck that sort of supported my theory about the inner child as well. And here we've got Frida, which is who this deck is all about, Frida Kahlo, almost as a child in a Moses basket. And the book is written as though it's Frida's diary. I've also done a walkthrough of this deck, so I'll link that one as well. There's a lot of links I've got to think about. Anyway, Six of Swords, science, which is what the Thoth keyword is on the Thoth card. So that's repeated here on Tarot Avatara, science. And we have like a little black and white sketched image on the facing page, and it says, from the diary of Avatara. Today I am Moses in my basket. I travel far to safety, sent home from America to live out an only suspected destiny in my promised land. I am helpless and weak, but safe in the knowledge that you can find me. So there's the trust that we saw in Tarot of the Sweet Twilight card. Must I ever traverse from here to there, floating across the liminal seas between us, adrift in the very place where inspiration may strike and charge watery ideas with the cold hard flash of industry beckoning progress? I am conduit, bringing a new kind of power and a fresh vision, changed forever but remaining unaccepting of their science. And I think the interesting thing there was Frida sold a lot of her work in America, but she actually did her work, her paintings, her art in her own country. And so the inspiration came from her own country, but she had to go over to America to actually sell it, and all that threw up for her, you know, industry and the harsh realities of commerce. And she just wanted to come home. So I thought that tied in nicely with that inner child thought that I had. So the Six of Swords is a difficult card. It represents, in the Rider-Waite-Smith, a passage, a journey, a decision that's been made. It's saying that if swords are over water, then that the mind has made it. There's a decision that's been made here that has overridden our emotional attachment, and we've made that decision to leave this emotional attachment and to travel away, to turn our back on it and not look back. And that's sort of the base meaning of this card. So it could apply, say, to refugees or war-torn areas where people have had to leave everything they've ever known in the hope that where they're going is better than what they're escaping from. It could be an abusive relationship, arguments, something that's really hurt, that's just now totally intolerable. And so the decision has had to be made, and it's been a very difficult decision, and maybe that weighs on us as well. It's weighing us down. And of course, if this boat here is on choppy waters, then this boat is very, very unstable. We are very unstable. We're in a dangerous situation, and so we need to get across, and we need to go onto a calmer water so we're safer and we can make the passage over. And so therefore it really is the mind over emotions. And in the Before Tarot, I noticed the place where we're actually going to has a star, and I had a few thoughts about that. Is that the star from the star card being the associated major, or is it the star from the Hermit's lamp helping to light the way? So if we go back to the Before Tarot and find the Hermit, here's the Hermit. You can see that the Hermit himself is taking the star from the sky to put into his lamp to help light the way. And the thing about the lantern is we can only really see the next step. We can't see the destination. We can only see the very, very next step we're going. We don't know what's on that other side there. And this figure is looking down in both of these renditions as well. They're not actually looking where they're going. So the associated major cards with the Six of Swords are the Magician and the Star. And I've talked a little bit about the Star, the Ibis bird, and the fact that we're going towards hope. The Ibis bird is Thoth, and this is the tree of knowledge. And Thoth is the god of knowledge. So now we know, and once we know, we cannot unknow. So maybe that is why we've had to do something about this situation. It's clear now, it's absolutely clear. The light bulb moment has come on, and we know there's no turning back. When I looked at that Twilight card and the question of why, then that made me wonder about the Magician and his role in all this. Now, Magician is aligned to Mercury, and magicians can be linked to trickery, can't they? And so, has the Magician tricked us in such a way that it's become intolerable? We can't unsee what the Magician's done. And so I looked at the Osho Zen Tarot, and the card for the Six of Swords, which they call the Six of Clouds actually in the deck, because clouds being of the mind. And here it says the burden, which we normally associate the Ten of Wands with burden, don't we? But in this deck, it makes perfect sense. When I read the guidebook entry, you'll see what I mean. But we can see here the clouds and the dark sky. And this poor figure is presumably us in an intolerable situation, trying to climb somebody else's mountain for them, carrying them over their mountain. I love the bird on the top of the head there as a headdress. Oh, brilliant. We are going that way, whether you like it or not. So let's have a little look at the guidebook. When we carry a load of shoulds and shouldn'ts imposed on us by others, we become like this ragged, struggling figure trying to make his way uphill. I'll just zoom in for you. Go faster, try harder, reach the top, shouts the foolish tyrant he carries on his shoulder, while the tyrant himself is crowned with an imperious rooster. If life these days feels like just a struggle from the cradle to the grave, it could be time to shrug your shoulders and see what it feels like to walk without these characters on your back. You have your own mountains to conquer, your own dreams to fulfill, but you will never have the energy to pursue them until you release yourself from all the expectations you've gathered from others, but now think are your own. Chances are they exist only in your own mind, But that doesn't mean they can't weigh you down. It's time to lighten up and send them on their way. So if we look at Mercury as aligned to the Magician and this Osho Zen card, this deck here, the Astrological Oracle cards, and it's by Linnea Weatherstone and Antonelli Castelli. There you go. It says about the shadow side of Mercury. It says the shadow side of Mercury is sharp-witted, cunning and trickery, which can be used to take advantage of those whose wits do not move at such lightning speed, or whose nature may be more naive or gullible. So that sort of ties into that card, doesn't it? We are naive, quite there, but we've woken up. We've woken up and we're moving on. So Aquarius is a fixed air sign, and the motto for Aquarius is I see. So now we see the situation for what it is, which is why we've made the decision to change that situation. The Magician can no longer trick us, can it? And Aquarius is forward thinking. It leads the way towards the future. So I like the way that aligns in this deck. Also, Mercury is about travel. And this is about long distance travel over water. And we see the water here in the star card. And this is the goddess Nui. And Mercury seeks new solutions. So it ties in again, doesn't it? Lovely. And it's making decisive action. And the star, well, with the star we're navigating in the dark, aren't we? Long distance travel would have been over water and navigated by the pattern of the stars and following that pole star. And Aquarius, of course, looks ahead. It's inventive and it likes to compare and contrast. And I think that's where the science aspect comes in with the Thoth Tarot deck. So we've decided to change our current situation. With the swords, it's a conscious decision, and it's the suit of air, actually, if you think about it. So if you think about long distance travel with Mercury, then actually that could be by plane, couldn't it? So let's move on now to the Thoth deck and have a little look at that. So the Thoth deck looks completely different to the Rider-Waite-Smith image. So let's go to the guidebook first and see what it has to say. Six of Swords equals science, and that's what it says on the bottom here. It's Tifereth in the suit of air, Tifereth being the Sephiroth on the Tree of Life. If I go to the Tree of Life diagram in the book, this is Sephiroth, number 6 here. Right in the centre of the Tree of Life. It's at the heart of the Tree of Life. I'll come back to that in a sec. Okay, in the suit of air, as you know, it's swords, so that's air. Mercury in Aquarius. The ornamental hilts of the swords form a hexagon in the card. Their points touch the outer petals of the red rose upon a golden cross of 6 squares. There you go. It says the perfect balance of mental and moral faculties, hardly won and impossible to hold, interprets the idea of science. And then on page 13 it says intelligence that has realised its goal, labour, work, success after anxiety, passage from difficulty, journey by water. So it actually echoes the Rider-Waite-Smith image there in its description, doesn't it? And then ill-dignified, or in reverse, selfishness, conceit, intellectual pride. So where does this science keyword come from? Well, according to M.M. Moline and Susan Chang in their podcast Fortune's Wheelhouse, they say that it doesn't mean science in the way that we perceive the word science. It actually means knowledge, which is interesting. But a couple of decks have gone the way of the keyword science. The Urban Tarot, for one. So I've shown this before. This is by Robin Scott. And in the Urban Tarot, they have taken that keyword of science. So let's have a little look at the card. Very interesting depiction here, isn't it? and it's the swords here are piercing the heart, so the heart of the rosy cross. The rosy cross basically is this here on the back of the cards, and there's the cross. I don't know if you can, there it is, in the centre of the whole of that cross. So the heart of the tree of life, and we have an actual anatomical heart there with the 6 swords piercing it. And here we've got that snake. Now, is that the snake that we see around the magician's waist? I love the way it all lines up. Anyway, 6 science. Let's see what Robin has to say about it. We acknowledge that we are flawed beings, prone to weakness and to misunderstanding. Through rigorous application of the scientific method, we account for the fallibility of the individual and together seek a greater understanding. If we are to add to the great canon of human knowledge, if our discoveries are to benefit all, we must first have the humility to remove ourselves from the equation. So it sort of echoes removing ourselves from the situation in the Roy Waite Smith. So the card stands for the triumph of the intellect over ignorance, of the rational mind to create a better world. Do not forget, however, what we have sacrificed in that triumph. Science begins with the most noble goals at heart, but it must turn against that heart in order to reach them. Sacrificing emotional concerns, so the emotional concerns here, for the light of pure objectivity, which are the air elements. What are we left with when we have eliminated all trace of humanity from our endeavour? Which is what science is about, really, isn't it? So I see the correlation there. Apparently, in the first iteration of this deck, this was a caducus, as a fairly common, albeit incorrect, symbol for the field of medicine. Hermes' winged staff is more appropriately an emblem of transit and commerce. But a simple mistake in 1902 put them on the US Army Medical Corps uniforms, and it has been associated with medicine ever since. Okay, so let's have a little look at this card in a bit more detail. I've just received this book, The New Age Tarot Guide to the Thoth deck, James Wanless, and I was just looking through, and it's mainly the major arcana. I thought I'd have a little look at, and there's a lot of spreads in this book as well, but I thought I'd have a little look at what it says about the 6 of Swords in here. 6, science, Mercury in Aquarius. Okay, what's it say? It says objectivity, research, study. So that goes along with science meaning. Sword points coming together, precision thinking. That works, doesn't it? So all the swords are focusing on one point, so that's precision. So precision thinking, able to see how ideas relate. So again, that would be like a science aspect to it, wouldn't it? Swords piercing the centre, incisive, penetrating mind, can go to the heart of a matter. And the lines, constraints and blocks overcome by objectivity. So I presume James means the lines in the background of the card. Now, Lady Frida Harris stated that she'd taken this design, these lines here, from a 14th century fencing diagram. And it showed the positions. I'll put a little picture above this, but it actually shows the best positions you can be in when you're fencing, and these are fencing swords, where you're invulnerable to attack. So I like the way that correlates as well. You're getting away here so that you're invulnerable to attack. So that sort of goes along with the refugee correlation to the card. All these swords as well have different hilts, and they apparently align to the signs of the planets, I think. So that's the sun. I did not really make a note of the others. I think that's the star, that's the sun. But yeah, all the planets. The final deck I sort of wanted to have a little look at is the Tarot of Vampires by Ian Daniels. So I keep that nice in my little wrap here. Take the beautiful this wrap, isn't it? Anyway, so the card that Ian Daniels has in the Tarot of Vampires for this Six of Swords is the Six of Knives here. And it's a very different depiction. So let's have a look what the book says, because this is very much based on the Thoth and the accompanying guidebook, Phantasmagoria. The Six of Knives is the most perfect manifestation of the mind in terms of the human spirit. When the card appears in a reading, it signifies that an intellectual and objective approach will achieve the best results. Our clear perception and understanding of a problem means that we can get to the heart of the matter. We must use our skills of deduction, weighing evidence, gathering and organising facts in order to bring something to a harmonic conclusion. By combining all aspects, we reach the solution that is central to the issue. Even seemingly incompatible viewpoints can be reconciled. Unconventional thinking leads to solutions or expanded awareness, which illuminates the way ahead. So we have that reference as well, don't we, to the star. I'm not reading you all of it because it's like 1, 2, 3, about 3 pages long. But here it says the vampire is a deadly strategist and his intuition is supernatural, allowing him to see into the realms of the invisible. A brilliant scientist, visionary and master of illusion. So, okay, we've got the magician as the master of illusion. A visionary would be the star. He is coldly confident, noble and cunning. His magic black blade represents the equilibrium of focused thought and sharp analysis. His illuminated mind is in perfect frequency with the crown of the Tree of Life. So, yeah, okay, so the book's now going into the Tree of Life. I think that's all I need to take from that. The crow is a messenger of secrets who whispers the mysteries of the invisible gained from the bloody rose in the Three of Knives. So Ian goes backwards and forwards in the suit when he's talking about each individual card, but for our purposes here, that's I think all I need from the guidebook. So let's go back to the Thoth card itself. These very, very sharp lines here that sort of make a pinwheel shape, different shapes all around, remind me once again of shattered glass. So to my mind, that is like our illusions have actually been shattered, and that's why we can no longer tolerate it. We've seen to the heart of the matter here, and yeah, our illusions are all shattered. There's nothing to do but go forward, really, is there? So we've just got to break free of whatever has hurt us or held us back. These swords are all sort of evenly spaced as well, if you look. So what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 evenly spaced segments here of a circle. So it's a very balanced card. And the 6 is, as I said, on the Tree of Life. It's all about beauty, harmony and balance. So that sort of represents that, I would say. And because the swords are actually covering that rose, if you can see that, it means the intellect is overriding the emotion, if the rose is about Venus and emotions. And the rosy cross itself is actually the union of the masculine, which is the cross, and the feminine, which is the rose. It also aligns to the heart chakra, doesn't it? So in our heart of hearts, we know the truth. We might have tried to fool ourselves, and that might have worked for a little while, mightn't it? But not anymore. Now we know we have to do something about it. So the beginning of February is when we start to come away from winter towards spring. And this is all about the goddess Brigid. So the celebrations for Imbolc were a festival in honour of that pagan goddess Brigid. And she evoked fertility blessings, among other things. And it says she was born with a flame in her head and drank the milk of a mystical cow from the spirit world. She's credited with this time of year and taken into Christianity as Saint Brigid. But before that, people would prepare for Brigid in their homes by crafting an effigy of the goddess, and then they'd make that from oats or rushes, and then they'd it was like a doll, and they would put it in a basket overnight, ready for Imbolc, where they would burn lamps and light bonfires. And then Christianity took on Bridget as St. Bridget, and a whole other story. But then she's aligned to, as well as dairy cattle, actually to ewes, because ewes lactate at that time of year. And so there's all that sort of side of it as well. There's loads of information on the internet if that's something that you're interested in. But in essence, it is all about the coming of spring. And it's interested in John Bower's tarot, the Hermit card that has been chosen, the painting that's been chosen for that Hermit card. So it shows a young girl with candles on her head, and that sort of reminded me of Bridget a little bit. Well, very dangerous, I would say. Yeah, so that's Imbolc, which is a little bit. As I said, the Christians' religion then actually brought in Candlemas, which was the 2nd of February. And that began actually as a Roman festival. Interesting, here we have sort of a Roman image for Mercury. And it was to celebrate the return of spring. So also there's been great excitement here because there's been a humped whale spotted in the bay, swimming along with dolphins. So I actually haven't seen it myself. I would have loved to. There is drone footage of it. I think you can find some on YouTube actually. But all the local newspapers are featuring it. It's an amazing thing to happen. So let's just now go on to the Crystal Magic Tarot and see what they've got to say about the crystals. So let's take these to one side and we'll just have a quick reminder of the cards. So we've got, as I said, the Star is Moldavite, the Magician is Jade, and the card itself is Aragonite. Let's go with Aragonite because I have actually spoken in previous videos about Moldavite and Jade. So rather than repeating that information, we'll just focus on Aragonite and the Six of Swords. What do the authors here say about Aragonite as it's aligned to the card? It says, the rusty orange and white coloured spiky crystal cluster is a grounding, stress-busting, anxiety-slaying ally, especially when those uncomfortable feelings are caused by change or the fear of it. Aragonite will not only help alleviate anxiety, but help you to embrace the unknown with hope and optimism. If you need to take a leap of faith, this stone is your companion and protector as you move forward. Use Aragonite as a talisman when you need to take a forward leap but don't quite have the courage to do it. Aragonite will hold your hand. So yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to say. I've really enjoyed looking closer at the card, both in this Rider-Waite-Smith system, the crystals and the astrology and the Thoth system, and then all those other cards. I will list the decks below, and anything that I've said I will that I've referred to that I said I will list below. I will try and remember what all that was. These videos end up quite long really, don't they, because there's such a lot to get through. Anyway, I've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it, and until the next time, thank you so much for watching. Bye. Bye-bye.